Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. Brendan here over at MJog. And further to Matt's previous webinar from a couple of weeks ago, we wanted to add a bit more flesh to the bones of the web messenger system. This is pretty much good to go. We're going to have some offers on that, which we'll talk about later. But today it's more about walking you through how it works and how it looks from both sides. So what your patients are likely to receive and how that all works. But of course, there may be different people coming at this from different angles. For that end, we have Frazer in on questions, and so we'll also be throwing a open Q&A on our Facebook page. But we'll come to that towards the end of the session if that's all okay. Let's have a look at what we're covering off today. So yes, we're going to have a look at how this all works. I've got a couple of test systems I'm going to use to walk us through how this web messenger system plays. We're going to use that alongside the refreshed desktop GP system as well, which if you've got that already, then that may look a little different. Oh, just like that, in fact. Of course, yes, we'll have a quick Q&A on here. Any questions that you have as they come through, there is a questions section in GoToWebinar. So drop on in there, put any questions in, and especially the most common ones, we'll try and answer them live on this session. And like I say, we'll probably be doing a follow-up on our Facebook group later on. So hi, yeah, I'm Brendan, and yes, we've got Frazer sat in the background, ready to pick up questions as they come through and forward me the most common ones. Or if there's a point where I'm starting to run out of talent, he's going to step in and save the day. So why is this potentially important for you? Web Messenger is going to help reduce any text costs. Essentially, where you're sending messages that are over and above, say, 160 characters, then they're not one text anymore, they're two. And you can add that up over time. So if you've got a very long message, that could actually be 4 or 5 texts. And that's not so bad on a one-off, but think about when you're doing those big recalls and invites and so forth, and you've got a big old lump of text in there, and if you're sending that to 3,000, 4,000, however many patients you need to send it to at a time, then that soon starts building into somewhat of a larger invoice if you're picking up the costs on those. This does mean you've then got money to spend on other things. What we can also do with this is you can have more in your messages. Now remember, this is going to be for people with smartphones, but they don't need to have an app. They can just do this off any handset they've got, provided it can get to the internet. So essentially pretty much any touchscreen phone will be able to be compatible with what we're looking at. You'll be able to have whichever templates you want. I'm going to work with a couple of examples I've got in the system, and you'll see that there's a baseline when you open it up so that you can just type out whatever you want to send. You hit send and that's just going to turn up. If it's not a particularly complex message, absolutely, you've just got a section where you write out what you want, and that's off to your patients through this channel. Are you in part of a CCG group that's purchased your MJog together? This is all going to be 1 year for nothing. 1 year completely free. You just let us know if you're interested in it, and we will get that rolled into your systems. But let's have a look at what it is we're actually playing with here. So here's my test environment, as it were. Oh, I'll hide that for a bit later, actually. And as I said, we're going to be looking at this through the desktop GP system. And you'll notice I've got a slightly different looking version of it at the top here. In fact, if I maximize EMIS, it'll stick out a bit better. We've got a toolbar along the top, and much of this is very similar. They've done some different work for stability purposes, bits like that, and they've also given it a bit of a refresh in how it looks. Now, Desktop GP, if you're not already aware, this is the one which works like some of the products that are out there. You have a patient open already in your clinical system, and you need to send them a message. Well, in our toolbar, we've got an option here, which if you hover over it, it says message. MJog then identifies who it is you've got open and who we need to get a message to. And this is where it's going to start looking a bit different. It's defaulted to what you'd have known before as being our smart message templates. Those are the messages that go out to the MJog Messenger app. Because this way, we can make sure that the page that they're sent to isn't just flat text. We've got a template already set in place. If I preview it, it's going to be easier to see what I mean. There we are. Message from your practice. Dear whoever the patient is, we've got a section where we type out what we want to send, and below that it's just going to be a sign off. So I want to get this message out to people and type my message here. Okay, my message here. Now I'm just going to hit send on that because that's all fair and good. Out that goes. Now let me pull up my phone because I'm soon going to receive a message into my handset that may not be exactly as you'd expect. Let's just get this all loaded up. Here we go. So I'm going to grab one which I've already sent before, because this can take a couple of minutes depending on how fast, how much our servers are dealing with at any particular given time. So let me just dive into some I've sent previously. You'll notice, dear patient, surgery has sent you a message regarding your, oh, there it is. There's my new one straight away. Will Burton Surgery has sent you a message regarding your healthcare. To view, click this link. Okay. Also note, before I go into it, yes, as I mentioned, there may be some patients who this doesn't work for. If that's the case, at the bottom it says to opt out, reply SMS. That doesn't opt them out of all of your messages. That's only removing them from this particular method of sending messages, this channel, if you like. So I'm going to click on that link. Here's my message. Message from the practice, my message here, and so on and so forth. So that's fine. You know, we can send one-offs, we can send quick messages of whatever it is we want it to be. But let's upscale that a little bit. I'm just going to grab myself some filler text. And we'll try that one again. Because if it's a short message, then yeah, you can do a text for that. If it's something short, just a very quick, please give us a call message, then yeah, text will fit that in. That's not a problem. Let's imagine though you have got a lot of information that you need to send out. A lot of words need to go out. Well, here we are. I've just copy and pasted half a web page into this. Now, of course, if you tried to send this as a text, one of two things will happen. Either one, it will all go through and it will make quite an expensive campaign message, or it may alternatively just cut it off partway through. With NHS Mail, for instance, after so many characters, it just cuts it off, in which case the patient isn't going to get the full message. So I've loaded up a big wad of text there. Let's send that this time and see what comes through when that arrives. While I wait for that to come through, look at that. Same idea. We've got a message with a link in it and the option to opt out. And this time, I've got an endless wall of text. Again, you wouldn't have been able to get this out via normal SMS, not without it being expensive anyway. But that, how much do you want to put in there? Now, of course, with MJog, it's not just about sending out wads of text. There's more to it than that now as well. We could still use this, much like in Quick Message. If you're logged into the homepage of MJog, you could start adding in things like attachments. So if I wanted to put a reference in there or any kind of PDF, essentially, if you've got a PDF document, that may just be how you're processing people through the practice at the moment, given what's going on. We can also have a whole load of favorite templates ready to go. So something like, I mean, I've got a flu vaccination one here, but again, it could be any scenario. And in there, actually, let's preview. There we are. Come get your vaccinations. A call to action button where they'll be able to call you from the handset. And we can then put options below that for different sorts of responses we may want them to come back with. And those responses will all come through to the front page, back into your MJog system. So, in fact, I'll show you that as well. Let me send me this. What I'm also going to do is put an attachment on it. So if I grab any old PDF file, there it goes. I'd probably want to tweak the wording in the bulk of this message to reflect that there's something there for them to see. Hit send. Away it goes.
Just to point out, Brendan, you chose to select a pin option for this message. Why would you choose to select a pin option instead of just not selecting it?
So with this pin option, it allows you, if you're going to be sending something that's maybe a bit more delicate, the system will be asking for you to provide a pin code before you can actually open that message, or that attachment anyway. And that's, so that pin number, by the way, will be year of birth, I believe. Can you clarify on that? Is it year of birth, or is it for
It'll be date of birth. Date of birth will be. So if you want to click on the attachment, it should then ask you for your date of birth.
I must have not clicked that pin code because there it all is in front of me.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. I must have missed that one. But yeah, there we are. So hang on, let me back up a page. There's my message. So I've sent the flu invite. This is as a one-off, of course. You can still do this through campaigns, and so this could go to hundreds and thousands at a time. Call now. Various options to respond with, and view attachments. So that might be, it could be a map to wherever you want them to be going to, with please wait here, or queue here, or dial this number when you arrive, whatever else. I'm going to send a reply back to this. So, I don't want this vaccination. Send. You'll notice it's also telling me that I have now replied to this message. I can go back into here if I need to, all the way back into the original message. It's going to load up that same page. Notice in the top right corner it says replied, and then further down it tells you what you've replied with as well. Now it can take a couple of minutes for that reply to come back through to MJog, because it's got to go through various different servers to get to you. Let's move that out of the way. Desktop GP, of course, will collaborate or compile any responses you've had as an individual. If you've sent a message through DGP and someone responds to that message, you have your own inbox just for things that you have sent. So I've got one here from earlier today where I sent a message back. And it breaks down again who it's from, when they responded, what the question actually was that you asked in the first place, and then what it is they've come back with. So yes, you can do all the responses and so forth, and this is going to work alongside all the other elements that we have in the system. But Web Messenger, that's what it does. You, instead of starting with just a flat text template, it doesn't remove that option. You can still, of course, send a straight up base SMS style message. I can switch to text if need be. And then you type out whatever you want and you hit send. That's desktop GP like we've had it before. But while we're in this smart message builder, patients who have got the MJog app will receive this message to the app like they would have before. Those who don't will have those links in their handset like we just saw, and they can open that link and see the message within and do the responses. And just so happens, on my DGP toolbar, I've got a big red 1, which means I should have one new, there it is, one new reply in the system. Let's open that up. There we go, that's the one I responded with just now. And do you want this vaccination? I don't. Of course, other elements of desktop GP is that you can keep an eye on all the conversations you've had with all your different patients. You can see how much you've used it. And we'll do a piece in a moment about how you can more quickly get logged into the system and make that usable. Have we had much in the way of questions come through, Fraser?
Yes, we have a question in regards to recoding back into System 1. Just what you'd like to clarify that for us, please?
Well, System 1 and EMIS, well, yeah, we can code into either of those. So let me open up one of my messages here. Now, this is, of course, configured for SNOMED, and as far as I'm aware, System 1 uses not many of you SNOMED at the moment. I could very easily be wrong. But if I want to add this as a code, in this instance anyway, you can see we've got this little magnifying glass. I can look up what SMS received. I can look up whichever code it is I want to use. Now with SNOMED codes, they are somewhat longer and less memorable. With System 1 codes, like XAMII, put it in. You can free type those in. Code, any comments to taste. This will code to say it's been received. Now, if you're looking for the replies coming back to be coded, there's a little bit more work to do off the back of that related to the question templates. They're called response templates, I believe. Just check that before I say anything wrong. Yeah, be response templates. And you can set your coding against those. But yeah, set SNOMED, hit send, and load. That's that done. Oh. Now, of course, that's all in Desktop GP. But I've just had a message. Of course, you may not all have that. And there is something, if you haven't, we can talk about in a moment. But more importantly, let's grab... Oh, no, that's the wrong page. I need to grab a login page. Here we go. So this should all be familiar by now. We've got our normal everyday MJog interface. Quick message right there is the same as the Desktop GP button I was pressing on before, except I've got to tell it who I'm looking for. It's defaulted me onto that same base template where I can type my message here, add my attachments, hit send, and away it goes. We can also do the same when we're doing our big batch messages. So communicate with my patients. We've got a whole load of different messages all in here for various different scenarios. What do any of these look like? Flu Vac 1. So I want to send this out to all the patients, all my people in a group. Flu Vac 1, I'm going to grab that. Let's stick to just... In fact, we could just leave this as purely just by smart. Actually, best not. Let's leave text in as well. But primarily here, if they've got a phone that can receive the message as a link and open that link, that's how they'll receive it. If they've opted out, if they've done that text back with the SMS to opt out, then it would fall back and send them the normal basic text as we've just seen before. So if I continue with that, send us the app, send us text afterwards. Just mute that. From here on in, it's the same as any other time before. Feed it a list of the patients you want to reach, pick the dates you want it to go, and of course at this point, yes, you can also set up any of the coding you want returned back into the system. So without going into a full webinar about campaigns now, when you're in here, Smart will be the one you'll want to be sure you add details into. You've got different channels, you see, and in some cases, maybe a different channel requires a different code. And so message delivered, they got the message, they've messaged back a particular response, code that. And what MJog will typically do with these is it'll do like a bulk upload of codes into the system, typically overnight, if it can't drip feed them in throughout the day. So yeah, provided a patient gets the message, message delivered, and then yes, if you've put some response you're looking for, then it can code that for you as well. But same difference, essentially you're going through a campaign, and instead of them receiving just a flat SMS of call us or message us back to decline a thing, they can receive the text, which turns into a link. Sorry, they receive a text with a link in it, which pulls them into here. And you can have so much more in these. Again, a text, if you wanted to keep your text running nice and cheap, it's 160 characters. Once you trip over into 161, you've just doubled the cost of that message. And again, depending how many you do as to how much that's going to impact people in budgets and so forth. This can work for your reminders, this can work for your big recalls, it can work for your one-off messages. Essentially, if it's a message you could have done through MJog before, it's supported through this new channel as well. Any other questions popping through, gentlemen?
Yes, we have a couple of questions in regards to how long does the link or attachment expire. I believe it's somewhere in the region of 28 days, but I could be wrong in that. We're just waiting on clarification from the server team, and I'll get back to you on that one, unless you happen to know the answer to that, Brendan.
I think you're on the money there with 28 days. Again, it's not something I have an absolute 100% cast iron answer for, but 28 does sound familiar. It's certainly not like 14 hours or anything like that, because of course patients won't be staring at their phones all day and night, so they need some time in there to open those up.
Perfect, perfect. We have just had confirmation from one of our developers. It is 120 days.
120 days? Oh, well, that should certainly be enough for them to open a message and read it, you would hope.
We have another question in regards to patients replying to campaigns, and if there's any way to stop replies coming in from campaigns.
If it's a text message and you're not using NHS, if you're using NHS Mail to send texts out, then if you don't have a text back number, I'll show you. If you don't have a text back number in your message, then they can't reply. If you are one of the many who uses a messaging gateway, via text or EE or whichever one it happens to be, patients can reply no matter what. So there's no way of stopping that. And you can say in your message things like do not reply and so forth. I wouldn't expect to get a huge amount of joy from that, if I'm honest. It's up to whether they're reading it enough to pick up on that. So I'm just appear to be losing a lot of my... So let me back up, and so this stops flaking out. It's the joy of being connected to 4 different computers at one time. Example. So you've built up a message of you are due a thing. Please call to book or reply decline. You do not want. So if you've just got a messaging channel, like I was saying, via text, EE, and so forth, they can respond to that, regardless of whether you want them to or not. If you're using NHS Mail for it, then one of its kind of backhanded benefits is they will need one of these text back numbers in the body of the message to be able to respond. If that's not there, they can't. They aren't able to get back to you at all. But yeah, primarily if you're on one of those other gateway channels, then no, they can respond. And like I said, you could put do not reply or something to that effect on the end of it, but I will not guarantee that will be hugely successful, because they'll have the option. They will have that option to. You'll still get some, is where I'm driving at. With the web messenger, like we're looking at though, if we get back onto the topic of today, if I grab the base template again, it loads it straight in there, so at least when it comes into the phone, it's a bit prettier. And again, we can change this however we want, but when you type out a message in here, whatever that happens to be, they're not replying to this. Messages that go out either to the MJog app or through this, you need to actually give them options to reply to. On this default base template, that option doesn't exist. That's where we can start having things like, let me grab that Flu Vac one again. If you've used the smart messaging system before, then you'll be more familiar with this for certain. But these grey boxes are the questions that you put in your message. Let me see if I can show you how I mean when that opens up in my screen here. No, not that one. How about that one? That's more like it. So let me just pull this back up on screen. You only give them options of how to reply. One of those options may be a free text field, but that's entirely up to you. But if I go and open up that same flu vaccination message, so it's the very same one. So I've already replied to this one. I've got the little green tick there, but these three options at the bottom of the screen are the only options they've got. They can't start messaging back about, oh, can I book a prescription? Can I pick up my prescription or whatever else it happens to be? You give them the options you want to see come back. And if that option's not what they want to send, then they're not going to be able to come back to you. One of these, you can, of course, have a free text option in there if you like. That might be an extra on top of that. But yeah, that's how that works. With text, some channels you can reply where they can reply regardless. Some they can only reply if you've given them the option to. That's kind of going a bit off track where we are, but there we have it. Any more coming in?
No more new questions at the moment, but I'll go through a few old questions and just read them out again if we don't come in. So one question we have is, what is the price compared to others after the first trial year has expired? So we have confirmation that this will be £240 plus VAT per year per main site after the trial period. We also have another question regarding, we've covered recoding. So yes, this can go back into both EMIS and System 1. Within EMIS, it will be within the patient's care history, which will find it. And with System 1, I think it's called care history as well, or the tab journal, but pretty much the same place there. A few questions in regards to, will we be showing this? Yes, the full recording of this webinar will be on our YouTube channel later on today at some point, and also our Facebook community group if you haven't joined that already.
Absolutely.
Let's see. A question for you, Brendan. They've asked, Lisa Pope has asked, can we use this facility to send patients questions about their ethnicity?
Yes. Now, we were building a template around this. Let me see if I can find it. I'm trying to think what it would be under. It may not be uploaded yet, but there is going to be, I'm being told information. Ethnicity background template. So this will be available to anyone who's got either MJog Smart Messaging or Web Messenger. Either work will fine. Download this. Let's have a look. It won't go out as a normal text message, just purely down to the amount of options and complexity that could be sat within. A selection of different tick boxes. So tell you what, let me send myself a copy of this. I'm going to need to do it as a now message. And let's see this live in action. But absolutely, yes, this could be used for that. And there it is. If you ever have any messages you like to use on the regular, favorite them while you're in your settings pages. So once you've got a favorited message, it'll appear in your quick message drop downs and it'll appear in the desktop GP drop downs. So there we go. I'm going to grab myself that message. and get that out to me and make sure that my phone stops disconnecting from my computer. If only there was a way to do that, Brendan. That will take a second to come through, I'm sure. There we are, loaded up and ready to go. So that's going to come through. I'll show you how that comes through. Now, each of those responses, because chances are you'll want to send that kind of message out as a big campaign. So yes, you'll want to be able to code all that back in. And to do so, I've got to do it through here for the moment, but again, you're going to do this through the campaign messenger. You've got a message template already. You may want to tweak that if you want. You'll feed it a list of patients you want it to go to. You'll pick when it wants to go. And then the important bit you'll want is to remember to do your coding, where we can then add in whichever code is relevant for whichever response it happens to be. Again, you may want to do the messages delivered bit as well. Seems to be taking a while for that one. May just be a little bit more complex than it needs to be. Yeah, that's how that'll play out anyway. Let me show you through this one again, just to be on the safe side. It's going to look the same on my phone as it is on this preview anyway. There we go. So again, you may want to change what the lead-in reads as. So that's going to play, but absolutely we do have that option there for you. I was going to say a little bit about this desktop GP and how it's easier to get set up as well. Have we got any other questions which are more pressing though first? Because otherwise I'll start talking about that.
Let's take a look. Wayne has asked if we can create our own smart templates and if there's any min or maximum requirements for creating your own templates. So yes, you can create your own smart templates if you want to, entirely customizable within the MJog core system. Are we still waiting to catch up with this, Brendan? Oh, okay, cool. If you'd like to quickly show Wayne how to create a custom message, don't obviously go through the whole thing, you know, show him quickly where to go to do this.
Absolutely. So we're in our settings pages and we can do our message templates right here. Now, what I'd say from with the smart messages, and again, remember this applies to messages that go to the app or the ones that come through as a text link. Normally it's better, instead of starting from the absolute ground up, because if you do that, you're going to end up with a very bland looking message. So there's my text, there's my smart editor alongside my text editor, and the same kind of idea. But with smart, we can do better than that. This is why we put this base template in place for Web Messenger, because otherwise, if you just free type out things, that's what that web page is going to look like when the patient gets to it, which, you know, it does the job, it's functional, but we can do better than that. So instead, what I'd say is, maybe download a fresh template, or one way or another, find something that has the same kind of look and feel to it, maybe. I'm just going to steal... Yeah, I'll just steal this asthma reading. Grab one you like the look of. Make a duplicate of it. There we are. I've got an asthma reading request, a copy of that. And now I can edit this and do whatever I want, but I've got something to work with. Yeah, so I might want to change some of the graphics maybe, and I'll certainly want to change the wording. You know, I might not have anything to do with sending in readings. I can get rid of that. And I can add my wording in for whatever it wants to be. You've got different tools along the top. I mean, consider this like a cut down version of Word, that kind of affair. We can add more tables, images, more web links, video, and so forth. And yeah, you can build as many as you want. This is going to be one of those things where playing with it will help. The more you play around with it, and you'll probably break a few before you get to the one you want to make. But trying will certainly help. Have a go. Have a go. And so just so we can be sure we're going to the right places, you're in your settings. Change my message templates. Remember, you've got different areas for templates. Now reply is anything from quick message, it's anything from desktop GP, it's anything that's not an appointment message or a campaign message, essentially. And campaigns are the ones that you send to the long lists of people in their hundreds and thousands. But yeah, have a play around with those. If you need, sometimes we get requests in for templates. It depends on the complexity of them. For instance, this the ethnicity template that we've just been looking at, that one we did have to generate in-house. But most things you can absolutely build up yourself. I understand there's another there's another question there. Is that right, Fraser?
Let's take a look. So what do we have here? There is a few questions coming up in regards to, does this only work with desktop GP, or can this be used within the core system itself? So
absolutely, you can do that. If as long as you've got MJog, you can use this. So if you've not got desktop GP, if you've not got smart messaging or any of the other bits, as long as you've got core MJog, this one here that we see in front of us, then absolutely. Again, free for a year to all CCGs. Look up your patient. And once this is all installed and your updates have been put through, when you go to this point, you'll see that it looks different. If you haven't had any changes, if nothing's changed on your account, you're going to end up on this one as well, which is where you just build up your normal everyday texts. So again, same idea. I can type my message in here, do my attachments and so forth, do a preview if I need to. Set any coding against things as well. I'm going to do a send on that. But yeah, it's not purely for DGP for certain. DGP helps because, of course, if you want to be doing those messages to a particular patient and you don't want to be coming in and out of different bits of software all over the place, then yes, we have the toolbar just sat at the top and you use that to go straight to messaging that person. How are we doing for time? Oh, blimey, I've already gone a bit further than I thought I was going to. One thing I wanted to tell you about, this is related to desktop GP. And this is if you've got this on your systems, but you're getting a little bit of pushback to getting it all up and running, how can you get people on board with this without huge amounts of messing about? Well, can you put this one in the chat, please, Fraser? But mjog.info/DGP download. We'll send them off to a page to get the software all downloaded. In fact, I'll show you that one. It shouldn't require anything significant in terms of administrator permissions and so forth, but I can't guarantee that. That's going to download, and you install it, and you're going to end up with your toolbar at the top. But let's say you don't know what your MJog credentials are. You may not even have an account at all. Maybe your practice manager's kept them all very close to their chest and you're not allowed to know. But you want to be able to send messages to your patients. Well, create an account. Create an account straight off the bat. And in here, Mr. My MJog. It will need a number. You know what? Complete the fields, hit send, or continue in this case. I'll give it a title as well. You know what? I've always found this gets to be irreverent for today. And create an account. That's created the account. I'm about to get a text telling me how to get into this system. I'm going to go to login. MJog. Sign in. I've forgotten what my things were now. So that's fine, because when you do forget things like what you actually just gave it, this isn't a problem. Because in my email, I should also find, I'm going to have an email in here in a moment about how to open all that up. Password reset. Superb. Now, one thing I will mention is that these bits I'm going through at the moment is that these are this desktop GP interface is a coming soon. Okay, it's not currently there in place, and so we're just going to make sure that it is stable for different environments and various bits like that. And once that is happy, then yes, that will start getting rolled out to people all over the place. Yeah, of course, because I've already built one user for it, it's not going to let me do it twice. And I don't have two mobile numbers in front of me. What would ultimately happen is you get sent a what's it called? A code to your handset. And with that code, which I just believe I've received, in fact. Here we go. Let me log in. Please log in. Okay. Oh, of course. I've got to give it, because the instructions are all here right in front of me, in fact. So why don't I show you those while I'm doing this? Terribly sorry about this. Also, all looking a little off. Okay, John. MJog.com. And I think that's kind of given away the game a little bit there. If you need to get in touch about anything, then brendan.goodjohn@mjog.com. Password as provided. I've done a typo when I've been building my own thing. If you manage to mess up on that, or if someone says they've had a go and it didn't work, of course you can build as many or as few users as you need in your settings pages. If I go in here, I'm going to find in my user details Reverend My MJog, and that's my problem. I did a typo in my own username. That's also why I didn't get the message through as an email. So that's all entirely my fault for having fat fingers and trying to be a bit quick. So my bad there. I'm just going to delete this one off. But yeah, essentially, as long as you remember to type in your correct details, follow the prompts on the screen and that which appears in your handset, and once you've downloaded Desktop GP, you can set your own account up, and that is going to be ready to go to start sending things to whoever you need to send them to. Terribly sorry about that. That's one that's going to get edited out of the YouTube upload. Anything more from everyone in chat there?
Yes, we have a good question from Stephen here. He's asked if we can set up an intelligent questioning system. So if the patient gets a question from MJog and it answers to one answer, can they get another message fired out straight to them?
Yes. Yes, they can. This is kind of going beyond Web Messenger, because this applies to all the different channels as well. You've got to be a bit careful with it, in that MJog can react to keywords. You give it a keyword and tell it, if you see this, do X. Problem is, if you don't keep on top of managing them, and you keep using the same keyword for different things, you could put one against decline, for instance, or whatever it is you want to put it onto. It's always running. And it might then be that you don't want it running for something else, but you know what? Let's show you what I mean. So let's settings. In messages, there's a section in here about keyword responses. And breaking that down, it's how do you want it to send a reply in response to a keyword. So at the bottom of the page, I create a new one, and I've got to tell it what to look for and then what to do about it. A keyword of cough. Yeah? What do you want it to then do? Well, typically you're going to want it to send a message back. And so we can pick from a message we've already got. So you'll have had to have created a message by now for it to respond back. It might be we can use a please call. It's also listed next to it what channels you've got available. So for that message, if they've come back through the app or through web messenger or by text or by email, it knows it can respond back to them. Send a message back, do a code of whatever nature that needs to be, and comments to taste. And enable it. Enabling it and disabling it, of course, is where it's all going to kick in if you start trying to use the same keywords for different kinds of responses. Let's save that. And now, if this ever gets a text in with the first word of cough, then the patient will be sent a message of please call the practice. And we would add in a SNOMED code like that, and next to it a comment of comments to taste, which probably isn't the most useful, but it fills my requirement for showing you what to do. And that's not going to sit in our listing. Now, do look into the handout section. You're going to find there's the kind of marketing, in fact, it's called a marketing sheet, Web Messenger A4 marketing sheet. And I think I've got a copy of that open. Yes, I do. There we are. It's just going to give you a breakdown. It essentially covers off what we've talked about already. There'll be some other bits all in there. Do have a look, grab that. And I think, depending on timing, what we're on, 2:45, it might be around about 3:30 or so. But if you're an if you're a Facebook person, then do have a look for yourself into MJog community and get yourself all involved in there. Later on this afternoon, I'm thinking I'm going to do a full just ask questions, and I'll try and respond to them live. And we can go with some of that, provided everything all works out. But yeah, do get involved. Drop us a message if you need anything. Grab a copy of that marketing sheet, so you've got answers to many of the questions there. I'll have one last scout around the chat. Fraser, have we got anything else loitering?
No, nothing new at the moment. I think we've covered all the questions now, so I think that's good going.
Superb stuff. Okay, well, thank you all very much, everyone, for your time this afternoon. I'm on the end of training at MJog.com if you've got any other questions that come off the back of that. So please feel free to send us messages about that. If I'm not available, someone else in the team can also pick those up and help you. Otherwise, have a good evening, have a good afternoon, Merry Christmas in a couple of weeks' time, and we'll see you again on another one of these sometime soon. Say goodbye, Fraser.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for attending.